Discipline, tradition, honor, forged by fire, built for legacy. This is Byronic Heroes for men who live by the code. I'm Benjamin Carey. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Character, class, your personal brand. You can't fake those three things. Not for long. There's a ton of talent out there, but there's a lack of conduct in this generation. And you see it everywhere. You see it in the eye rolls, the talking back, the personal ethics of kids walking into your house and not coming up and introducing themselves or shaking their hand. You see it everywhere. Character, it's the private side. Very similar to integrity, doing the right thing when no one's watching. It's keeping your word, it's admitting your wrongs, it's following your internal compass, your moral compass, knowing the difference between wrong and right and making the right decision. Class is the public side. How are you perceived? Do you show gratitude? Are you respectful? Are you humble? And really, class and character can be seen in all aspects of your life and how you speak, how you walk, what your body language is, how you treat your parents, how on top of your schoolwork you are. There are so many different ways that you're constantly demonstrating this. Your personal brand speaks volumes about you. Everybody has a personal brand. It's how you act, it's what you wear, it's how you speak, it's how you interact with other people. And it's very important because it represents you, it represents your family, it represents the school that you go to. Kids today don't take it seriously. You see this with today's generation everywhere, and it's our job as coaches and as men and adults to teach kids when they're young what it means to have character and class and to develop their own personal brand and understand that they need to protect that. They need to protect it online. They need to protect it in all their affairs. And it's something that later on in their life can make them or break them. Having a strong personal brand and convictions and class and character can go a really long way. And it's something that in today's generation, we just simply don't spend enough time on. Chalk it up to technology and everyone having their heads in their phones or busy schedules and everybody chasing that almighty dollar. Whatever the reason is, we don't spend enough time on this. I've been running the elite national team football program for about 14 years with my partner, Gerald Filardi. And one of the things that we spend an exorbitant amount of time on is class and character. It is such an important thing that could really help you at the next level. And if you want to play football at the highest level of the game, or you just want to be the most successful person that you could be in whatever your endeavors are, you need to have character in class because it's going to separate you. You see it all the time. You see it on the football field. Kids arguing with their coaches or throwing themselves after they make a bad play or arguing with the referees. It's terrible. And a lot of times it goes uncorrected. And all we do when it goes uncorrected is set these kids up for failure later on. And every single time something like that's not corrected, we're telling them that it's okay. I was at a scrimmage a few weeks ago. A kid caught a pass in the end zone and he started dancing around like an idiot for a good 5 minutes afterwards. And his body language and everything about it, you could just tell that the kid was a punk. And you know what? Maybe he's not. Maybe he's a nice kid. But guess what? If you're a recruiter and that's the only game you go to and that's the first and only time you're seeing this kid, what sort of conclusion are you going to draw from that? Right? And I get it. The NFL, they celebrate. There's all sorts of celebrations. But at the youth level, it's different. We're teaching these kids something special that has nothing to do with football. And so it's one of the reasons, especially in some of these private leagues, where you can't even stand over a kid after a tackle without getting ejected from the game. And that's the way it should be because it's not just about football. When the kids are this young, when they're in youth football and when they're in high school, we owe it to them to teach them these lessons. Football is the greatest platform to reach kids and teach them life lessons. Why? They come to practice, they love it. They're having fun. They let their guard down and they let you into their world. And as adults and as coaches, we have an opportunity to really connect with these kids and teach them things about life that they may not be getting elsewhere. Social media is a magnifier. If you don't have any class or character, or you act like an idiot in real life, social media is going to amplify that by 1,000 times. Reminds me of a story when we went down to Virginia to play in a youth football tournament. The week before, I'm on our Instagram and I start getting direct messages from, apparently, it's a player from one of the teams down there that we're going to be playing. And the kid is blowing things up. He's cursing, he's using profanities. Bring the smoke. We got this, we got that. And he's cursing and carrying on. So I start writing him back because I feel obligated, right? And I say to the kid, what are you doing? You want to play football in college? You want to play at a good high school? And he doesn't answer me, but the light's still green. So I know he's listening. So I go on and I'm like, listen, you're acting like an idiot. I said, all these things that you're saying and everything else, I said, you do realize when you put stuff on social media, it's there forever. It doesn't disappear. And you're going on, you're cursing. And what kind of impression do you think you're setting? What are you being an idiot for? So I look on the kid's social media and his profile picture is this. It's him standing there with his legs spread, aiming at the camera, making believe he has a gun. So I look a little more looking for football clips and things of that nature, and there's nothing. There's one picture of him in his football uniform and a whole bunch of other inappropriate pictures. And so I say to this kid, your profile is trash, your profile picture's trash, and I go on, right? So I'm having this conversation with who's probably like a 13-year-old, but as a man, I feel obligated. It's my job to teach these kids. So he blocks me. The next day, I'm online and I look and I see that he unblocked me and there's a message. Coach, I'm sorry. You're right. So we start talking back and forth a little bit. And I'm like, listen, I start talking to him about class and character and how it's so important, and how any good high school coach or college coach is going to be looking for that, not just looking for a talented players, because there's always talented players, but having talented players who also have a great work ethic, who also have class and character. You want to have the full package. So I have this conversation with him, and then I'm at practice the night afterwards, and I'm talking to my coaches, and we're like laughing about it. I'm like, can you believe this? These kids are unbelievable. And I say to my coaches, I don't know if it's good or bad. Like, I can't help myself. I got to respond to this nonsense. And one of my coaches made a great point. He's like, Ben, you're doing the right thing. He said, they may not have a dad or anyone at home that's teaching them these lessons. So you never know. You may be really helping someone out who needs it. And I guess that's the point, right? As adults, as coaches, it's our job to raise these kids with standards. At the beginning of every year, I teach everyone in our organization how to do a proper handshake. 90% of the kids that show up to practice, they have no idea how to do a handshake. It's terrible. The dead fish handshakes, the eyes, and the looking up at the sky and the looking down at the ground. And it's something very simple, but the amount of emails and texts and conversations that I've had in the grocery stores with parents who years later have said, you know what? Thank you so much for all the character lessons you taught our kids in football. Or maybe it's someone that just got into sixth grade and shook the hand of one of their teachers and introduced themselves when they came into the classroom. Because guess what? Most kids aren't doing that. They're shy. They're uncomfortable talking with adults. They fidget. They look down. People in this generation, there is a lack of attention to class and character and having some sort of convictions and polished way of how we deal with each other, right? People don't respect each other the way they used to. And kids, especially, you know, how often does a kid come into your house? How many of them actually say hello to you? How many actually come over and have a conversation with you? Most kids are afraid of adults in today's generation. They don't really do that. And we teach them to not be afraid to have a conversation with an adult, right? A lot of the friends in my kids circle, when they come into the house, they come over, they shake your hand. How you doing, Mr. Carey? How are you, Mrs. Carey? And they talk to you. They'll have a short conversation with you. And that's a big difference than you see in a lot of other environments today. Character matters. How you speak to your parents matters. How you react when you are coached up or given criticism matters. Your attitude and your body language, every bit of it matters. Character in class aren't soft. You can be a badass and have character in class. Men have character in class. Kids today don't go out of their way to do simple greetings. Kids don't know how to introduce themselves in a room full of people today. Some kids don't even introduce themselves when someone walks into a room. These things are important, right? Someone comes and sits at a dinner table with you. You get up out of your seat and you say hello. The lack of character in class, you can see it everywhere. You see it on the football field, kids arguing with their coaches. They don't know how to accept criticism. Kids scoring a touchdown and running into the end zone and acting like idiots. I mean, listen, I get it. In today's day and age, the celebrations are somewhat of a thing among today's generation, but you're not playing in an NFL game. It's youth football, and it's more important at this age to teach kids how to handle these affairs with class, teach them humility. I've been coaching football for about 15 years, and it never ceases to amaze me when players talk back to coaches on the field. You see it at every level. You see it even in the NFL in the Chiefs game when Kelsey bumped his head coach. It's deplorable, and it shouldn't happen at any level of the game. And it all comes down to what people are taught at a young age. You know, it reminds me of a time when my youngest, he was 6 years old, and we were at a practice, and he was carrying on about something. I don't recall what it was, but I warned him once, I warned him twice. And then finally, I looked over at my coaches and I was like, listen, can you finish practice, run practice for me? And they just looked at me. I picked up my son. I carried him all the way off the field, down the stairs, into the car, and drove him home. It was the last time he ever did that at practice. Another time with my oldest, he was playing quarterback at the time, and he scored a great touchdown. And I threw him off the field, and he just looked at me. And I said, you didn't run the play that the coaches and I called. You didn't listen. I ended up throwing in a kid because I was so angry. I threw in a kid to play quarterback that never touched the ball in his life at quarterback. I don't even think we got the snap off for the extra point. But it was the point that the principle behind it, that he didn't follow instructions. Like, no one is above expectation. And these are lessons that we need to teach these kids. Character, class, these are things that race has nothing to do with. Economic bracket has nothing to do with. How tough you are, how much of a badass you are. You think you're a badass, this stuff is for other kids, or this is for nerds. Real men have class and character. When you go to a top high school or you go to play football at the highest level in college, those coaches don't want to babysit you. They also don't want assholes. They don't want punks coming in there. They don't want kids that they have to worry about all the time that are going to be a headache. They want gentlemen. They want people who are a class act. I've had the opportunity to sit with over 60 head coaches at the top football programs in the country, and they all have the same expectation when it comes to character. They want kids that they don't have to babysit. They want gentlemen. They want kids with good character. And I see it, like kids showing up to college visits and sloppy, and their body language, and the coach is talking to them and their eyes are off in the other direction, or they're fidgeting and not paying attention. When you go on a college visit, those coaches are paying attention to every tiny little thing that you do. And character in class is so important. Pick a coach out of any of them. Fran Brown, Syracuse University. Can't wear AirPods in the building. You can't wear your hat in the building. You can't wear black more than one time a week. I'm not sure what that one's actually about, but he has a bunch of rules that some kids would think are strict. They're not strict. Deion Sanders, same thing. Coach Kirby Smart, same thing. Billy Napier, Ryan Day. I've sat with all of them multiple times on college visits, and their desire to have kids with good character is next level. So it's really important that we teach kids this right now, and that in our own affairs as adults and as men, we treat each other the same way. You hear about the importance of character and class everywhere. KJ Duff, Ian Strong, Caden Brown, Joseph Filarde, Eris Bethea. There are so many kids that have gone on to play at the highest level of college football. And those kids that I just mentioned have so much class and character. And it's awesome to see. My own son, who had over 50 college offers, and he just committed to Georgia. My favorite part about his journey was hearing over and over and over again, every time we sat and met with a coaching staff, how great of a kid he was, how his character was, how polite he was, how he treated every college visit like a job interview. They loved the fact that he treated it with seriousness, right? Because he wasn't wearing a suit or a blazer on his college visits to show off or be flamboyant. He was dressed that way to show his level of respect for the coaches, like a job interview, and to show them how serious he took the opportunity. You have kids showing up in sweatpants and wife beaters and Crocs and all sorts of stuff, and you're setting the tone and level of expectation of how you want these coaches to think of you. I had a chance a couple weeks ago. I was at a high school, and one of the football coaches called me over, and he's like, Coach Carey, I just want to let you know that the kids from your program, they're different. And it's not the first time I've heard this, but of course I said, well, what do you mean? And he's like, well, they all come in with a high football IQ and they're all very talented. But the thing that's different about them, he's like, I can't really explain it. He's like, they always say hello and goodbye to me at practice. They always shake my hand. They go out of their way if they see me in the hallway to say hello. They're on top of everything in a way that the other kids aren't. And that's really what it's all about. But I can tell you, we spend a lot of time on class and character with these young men. And it's important because later on, they're going to carry these behaviors onto college and into their jobs. And they're going to be fathers one day, and they're going to be husbands one day. And if someone's not teaching them these things and constantly reinforcing them, who are we raising? What are we doing? Your personal brand is not your logo. It's how you move when no one's clapping. It's what kind of man do they remember when you leave the room. Your past doesn't define you. Your standards do. See you next time. This was Byronic Heroes. Forged by fire, built for legacy. Click subscribe to join us next time.